Hi all, Fuzzy Barbarian here again. So after posting my Nioh Mage's Suican build and making a comment regarding the lack of light armor options in Nioh, a couple of you pointed out with 99 stamina you can get the Sanada armor set to an A agility rating. That's what the Sanada set looks like right there. And yes, 99 stamina gives the Sanada set an equipment weight of 30%, which despite being a medium armor set makes it more or less a lightweight armor set. Here are the perks of the Sanada set. As you can see, it's pretty good. They're all good perks, but the close combat attack critical perk is by far the big one there. Now, with perks like that you can have a very decent and fast moving build with nothing but the Sanada armor set on, 99 stamina, and points allocated to whatever core stat suits your weapon. However, the problem with this approach is that 99 stamina is a lot of points to allocate just to get a blue agility rating. Also, if you want to start doing more damage by swapping out armor pieces, you're not going to be able to without going over the 30% equipment weight into a B agility rating. Putting 99 stamina into a build only to have it in B rating of agility anyway is, well, a waste of points. So first and most importantly, I refashioned the set to look how I wanted it to. Then I played around with different builds to see if I could get a decent A+ agility build without committing the full 99 points to stamina. I ended up settling on a build that improves agility even more than I'd set out originally to do, using only half the stamina points. It's a super lightweight build at only 27.5% equipment weight. The reason it is so lightweight is because I've added damage bonus less armor to an armor piece. Damage bonus less armor increases your attack value for each armor piece you don't wear. In this case, I dropped my head armor. My attack is increased for two reasons by doing that. First, obviously the extra damage from the less armor perk itself. And second, by having less armor, I'm in the blue for equipment weight, and that maxes out the extra damage I get from the agility damage bonus A+ perk I have as a passive on my main equipped ranged weapon. In my tests it worked out to be about an extra 100 damage without the Sanada head armor on than with, and that's only with an A roll. I haven't bothered rolling for an A+ yet, though I probably will at some point, so it's not a lot of damage, but it is a little bit more. But all those changes only make my damage as good as it could be, given the limitations of this build as a lightweight build. The damage output itself is still a lot less than it could be with other heavier options added to the mix. And because of that, this build puts a focus on getting your living weapon all the time, just like the Nioh Mage's Suican build does. But unlike the Suican build, Sanada's close combat critical attack of 28% makes it hard to go past a critical attack build, so I pretty much chose to go with stacking that even further for this. By using High Nezumi as the Guardian Spirit, which gives an extra 25% to close combat attack critical, and by putting close combat attack critical on my main weapon, as well as using a secondary weapon with a set perk of close combat attack critical, I've been able to get close combat critical attack to a whopping 119.7%, which, let's be honest, is pretty insane. Take a look at a few clips of pouring through enemies with a critical living weapon going on this build.
辺りが改まる。
As you can see, it's pretty awesome to use after setting off your living weapon while critical. But here's the thing, any lightweight critical living weapon build will always do less damage outside of living weapon mode than pure damage builds will. If you're already at a fairly high level, that won't really make much of a difference to you. But if you're not, it can make double human bosses like the two kings or those on a meeting on the other shore a little slower to farm. That's why this is the first build I've done that considers a switch out. If I want to play or farm an entire level, I can go with the base A+ agility build. In critical living weapon mode, it can clear whole missions so fast and easily it's crazy. But if I want to farm double human bosses, or just want to put out more base damage without thinking about getting my critical living weapon, I can also do that easily. All I have to do is switch 3 things out quickly. The first is to switch out my Guardian Spirit from Hinazumi to Kato. Doing so gives me an instant boost to skill damage and close combat attack. The second thing is to switch my weapon for one that isn't critical attack focused. I've leveled up 2 Shiranui Kusarigamas for this build. One has critical attack on it, one has close combat damage on it. To get more damage, on goes the Shiranui with close combat damage. And for the critical build, obviously then I just put the other one on. And finally, the third change is to put on the Ogress Mask as an extra armor piece. Doing that robs me of my blue agility, but it adds an extra 20% fire damage to compensate. Since this is a fire build, at times that can be a lot of extra damage, while the difference in weight is only about 8%, which doesn't take away from my agility bonus damage passive too much. It does put me into a B rating, but it's not too bad, it's still pretty low equipment weight. Here's me farming a meeting on the other shore with the base build, but not using the living weapon. Here's me farming it with the switched out higher damage build. So you can see the extra damage makes it a bit easier, but not by such a significant amount that it becomes essential to switch out, which is good. The extra damage is just extra helpful. Of course, you don't need to go to the length of creating a switch out weapon for this, like I did, or even bother with the Ogress Mask for that matter. Switching to Kato alone can be enough to do plenty of extra damage while allowing you to retain your blue agility. I'm only talking about doing all that to maximize your damage, and those factors combined can add around 1,000 extra damage per attack if you use a skill like Kusarigama's Blade Spin, which is also the primary skill I've focused on for this build. So yeah, this quick switch out can make a big difference to farming double human bosses easier and faster, but still isn't 100% necessary, and that's a reason to like it. Before I go on, I'm sorry to say not a lot of you will be able to mirror this. If you don't already have the Sanada set, you're probably not ever going to get it, as it was apparently a special reward for participating in some of the early game releases. I got mine off a Revenant in my first playthrough of Isle of Demons. People say that can't happen, but that's how I got mine. But I did play the game briefly during the alpha, so I'm thinking maybe it can drop off Revenants if you already have access to it. Either way, I also have the smithing text and that didn't drop from the Revenant, so yeah. Basically I'm lucky enough to have this set. If you are too, you'll find this video of value. If you can't get the set, you may still find this of value by getting other ideas for how to make your own builds with the sets you do have. The Fanatics set also has critical damage as a perk, for example, so you could use that instead. Just remember, the build I'm going to show here is basically a modification of the Nioh Mage's Suiken build I posted a few days ago. I just used the ideas from that to make this. You can use ideas from this to make your own build with a different set too. Okay, first up, I'll show you my core stats. Because I'm level 370, you can see I've allocated quite a few points across the board. You certainly do not need to be at this level or have this volume of points to make this build viable. The key points here are dexterity and skill and spirit. If you are building this from scratch, focus on dexterity first, as this offers the best scaling for the Kusarigama. Spirit second, as this offers the best increases for your living weapon. Skill would be your third choice, as it is next in line for scaling your Kusarigama, and then you would put your points into stamina to get your weight close to blue. Stamina will merely make you faster and improve a little damage from your agility bonus perks, but until you have the points you need for that, you're going to want to leave it until last. 99 is your aim for dexterity, spirit of 50 is the sweet spot for your living weapon, 50 is also your aim for stamina. You actually don't need quite that much stamina if you're trying to get under 30% equipment rate if you're only going to have 4 pieces of the armor set on, and obviously you don't need any stamina at all if you don't care about your weight. Just remember, putting points into the first half of a core stat will always give you more gains than putting points into the last half. So level up the last half of most of your core stats only after you've got the first half of the other stats that you really want leveled. On my stats there, you can see I've allocated points to body, heart and strength as well. I added 15 to strength because when I switch to the Ogress mask, my agility reduces and thus I use more ki. By adding strength, I get more ki pulse to compensate for that. For the same reason, I added 10 more points to heart, as this gives a little more ki too. Body is the third scaling attribute for Kusarigamas, and so that's where my excess points went for a while. Now I'm just putting extra points into spirit. But again, all of that is unnecessary. I'm pretty much over leveled, and so these levels aren't needed to be viable. You can ignore body, heart and strength entirely if you want. I've also put enough points into magic to get the maximum number of spells I want and to extend living weapon as well as earn more Amrita. You don't need 38 points of magic to start with though. In fact, you only need to use the minimum number of magic points necessary to get the key casts you're going to use to start with, which I'll go over later. You may want to prioritize magic over skill to start with though, if you're rationing your points. Just remember, dexterity, spirit and skill are what you need to build first, plus whatever you need to make sure you have your magic spells. Everything else can come later as you level up. I've already touched on weapon special effects. Close combat attack is the main one for the base build. Shiranui Kusarigama is my choice of weapon, as its damage multiplier is the highest of all the Kusarigamas. Make sure you have change to attack dexterity of A+, as that scales with Kusarigamas. Also, as Blade Spin is our main and most devastating attack, and Blade Spin is a skill, I've got skill key damage and skill reduction on my weapon too. Notice the break value there of plus 19. Break is how easily you can break the enemy's guard. You can get extra break as a percentage. I prefer the raw number value like you're seeing here though, as it can end up adding more break than a percentage value does. As an example, break on my main melee weapon before I added the plus 19 was 49. If I had extra break of 10%, it would only add 4.9. If it was 20% say, it would only add 9.8. So break of plus 19 is almost the equivalent of getting extra break of 40%. I've put final blow damage on there as it sticks with Sanada's set perk too, giving me total final blow damage of almost 60%, which is pretty huge, even though final blow damage probably doesn't get used as much with a Kusarigama as maybe with a sword. On the switch out weapon, the only real difference there is close combat damage. Any other differences are purely because I haven't been able to roll them to match yet, including that I haven't soul matched that one to 160 plus 10 yet. My secondary weapon is the Haikuimon Ishimonji Katana, which is a part of the legendary Mikoa Warrior set. I have that in that slot purely for the extra close combat critical damage it gives me. My main ranged weapon has agility damage bonus of A+ on it, as well as extra fire damage. I have no head armor on my base build for the reasons I've said before. The Ogress mask goes here when I want that extra damage for farming human bosses. All armor pieces have attack on them, inherited from gloves. One piece has damage bonus for less armor on it for the reasons I've already said. I have running speed increases on 2 armor pieces because I like to move fast, and I also have evasion key usage on at least 1. I definitely have toughness on all pieces, as this is really important for blocking attacks, and I also have Amrita earned on 2 of them to help boost my living weapon. My first amulet is a Magatama that perks fire damage and adds extra Amrita gauge and Amrita earned to get and keep my living weapon going. My second amulet is a Yasukani Magatama that enhances my living weapon attack allows me to drop the 5th Sanada piece without losing the set bonus, and also allows me to get the legendary Mikawara Warrior 2-piece set critical attack bonus from my secondary weapon. Shortcuts are Elixir, Weakness Talisman, Tiger Running Scroll, and Sloth Talisman. Swap the Tiger Running Scroll for small Spirit Stones if you want to be able to pop stones to get your living weapon instantly. You only need 1 small Spirit Stone to get your living weapon with this build. Fire Talisman is a key shortcut as this is a fire build. Protection Talisman and Carnage Talismans are also staples in any of my builds. Quick Change Scroll is 100% necessary in a critical living weapon build. Since you're constantly allowing your health to get low, it offers you added protection from making the mistake of dying accidentally before you fire up your living weapon. Choose all the passives on all the weapon trees. I don't need to show you those, just scroll through each weapon tree and choose the passive one that reads passive. For Kusarigama specifically though, choose all the passives there too, and choose Waxing Crescent as the mystical art, as it gives you extra damage and key damage from the sickle, which works with Blade Spin, the main skill we're using here. So yeah, be sure to unlock Blade Spin too. As far as other Kusa skills go, choose the ones you like to play with. Sanada perks skills, so any skill will get the benefit of that. Because we have a lot of dexterity, you'll have a gazillion ninjutsu points to play with. Choose what you want here. Make sure though that you get enlightenment so that you can instantly cast Tiger Scroll and Quick Change Scroll. I also recommend, when you have enough points, getting all the passive protections like Poison Control, Paralytic Control, and so on. I also like to max out Quiver Maker, Bow Master, Round Carrier, Cannon Master, Tiger Running, Dashing, Cloud Runner, Quick Change, Dodging, Sneak Attack, Snake Bite Technique, Endurance, and of course Ninja Tool Master, so you can carry max Tiger Running and Quick Change Scrolls. But initially, Quick Change Scroll is the most important ninjutsu shortcut for this build, so go for that first if you're low on points. I said earlier I'd touch on magic later. I have 38 points in magic, but you don't need that many. If you have the points, great. If not, the key casts you want are Fire Talisman, Sloth Talisman, Protection Talisman, and Carnage Talisman. With those, you're good to take on absolutely anything or farm absolutely anything. From there, get all the passives you can. Also, make sure you get the Awakening Onmyo Magic Mystic Art as soon as you can. Fast casting of your spells is way more practical than amplification, in my view. I actually haven't respec'd my prestige points for this build. Pretty much left them where they were after I made the Onmyo Mage's Suiken build. This build has a similar living weapon focus as that one, so changes weren't really necessary. If you want to, you can go and check that one out. I've got a link in the description, and I've put a link in the video too. Clan wise, I've gone with Ishida, primarily to get an extra 10% living weapon attack enhancement. I did this because I chose to put a Magatama on that buffs fire damage and a Marita gaining. You could choose a clan that buffs your skill damage instead, like Honda, and then use a Magatama that buffs your living weapon attack instead. But Honda also has a damage halved if life is full perk, which slows down getting to a critical state for your living weapon. That, and I don't have a Magatama that buffs fire damage and living weapon attack enhancement at the same time, so I couldn't really have that combination on my build, but you can if you want to. So for me, Ishida it was. And that's about it, I think. Once again, if you don't have Sanada, that sucks. It's a good set well worth having. Maybe they'll re-release it in the future, who knows. In any case, hopefully you'll have gotten some other ideas out of this video to work with whatever build you are wanting to use just the same, so good luck with doing that. Until next time guys, take care and bye for now.